The haunting begins at midnight, said the girl with the adamantine chin. It's not quite 11. My mother may have been afraid, but she would be a dragoness. My totem, your totem. She could make herself not weak. During danger, she fanned out her dragon claws and riffled her red sequined scales and unfolded her coiling green stripes. Danger was a good time for showing off. Like the dragons living in temple eaves, my mother looked down on plain people who were lonely and afraid. I'm so sleepy, my mother said. I don't want to wait up until midnight. I'll go sleep in the ghost room. Then if anything happens, I won't miss it. I hope I'll be able to recognize the ghost when I see it. Sometimes ghosts put on such mundane disguises, they aren't particularly interesting. Ayah! The storytellers exclaimed. My mother laughed with satisfaction at their cries. I'll call out if something bad happens to me, she said. If you come running all together, you will probably be able to scare any ghost away. Some of them promised to come. Some offered their talismans, a branch from a peach tree, a Christian cross, a red paper with good words written on it. But my mother refused them all. If I take charms, then the ghost will hide from me. I won't learn what kind of ghost it is or whether or not a ghost lives in there at all. I'll only bring a knife to defend myself and a novel in case I get bored and can't sleep. You keep the charms. Should I call for help, bring them with you. She went to her own room and got weapon and book, though not a novel, but a textbook. Two of her roommates walked her to the ghost room. Aren't you afraid? They asked. What is there to be afraid of? She asked. What could a ghost do to me? But my mother did pause at the door. Listen, she said. If I am very afraid when you find me, don't forget to tweak my ears, call my name, and tell me how to get home. She told them her personal name. She walked directly to the back of the room, where the boxes formed a window seat. She sat with a lamp beside her and stared at her yellow and black reflection in the night glass. I am very pretty, she thought. She cupped her hands to the window to see out. A thin moon pricked through the clouds, and the long grass waved. That is the same moon that they see in New Society Village, she thought. The same stars. That is the same moon that they see in China. The same stars, though shifted a little. When she set the lamp next to the bed, the room seemed darker, the uncurtained window letting in the bare night. She wrapped herself well in her quilt, which her mother had made before dying young. In the middle of one border, my grandmother had sewn a tiny satin triangle, a red heart to protect my mother at the neck as if she were her baby yet. My mother read aloud. Perhaps the others could hear her. How calmly. The ghost might hear her too. She did not know whether her voice would evoke it or disperse it. Soon the ideographs lifted their feet, stretched out their wings, and flew like blackbirds. The dots were their eyes. Her own eyes drooped. She closed her book and turned off the lamp. A new darkness pulled away the room, inked out flesh and outlined bones. My mother was wide awake again. She became sharply herself, bone, wire, antenna, but she was not afraid. She had been pared down like this before, when she had traveled up the mountains into rare snow, alone in white, not unlike being alone in black. She had also sailed a boat safely between land and land. She did not know whether she had fallen asleep or not when she heard a rushing coming out from under the bed. Cringes of fear seized her soul as something alive, rumbling, climbing the foot of the bed. It rolled over her and landed bodily on her chest. There it sat. It breathed airlessly, pressing her, sapping her. Oh no, a sitting ghost, she thought. She pushed against the creature to lever herself out from underneath it, but it absorbed this energy and got heavier. Her fingers and palms became damp. shrinking at the ghost's thick, short hair like an animal's coat, which slides against warm solidity as human flesh slides against muscles and bones. She grabbed clutches of fur and pulled. She pinched the skin and the hair grew out of, and gouged into it with her fingernails. She forced her hands to hunt out eyes, furtive somewhere in the hair, but could not find any. She lifted her head to bite, but fell back exhausted. The mass thickened. She could see the knife, which was catching the moonlight near the lamp. Her arm had become an immensity, though too burdensome to lift. If she could only move it to the edge of the bed, perhaps it would fall off and reach the knife. As if feeding on her very thoughts, the ghost spread itself over her arm. A high ringing sound somewhere had grown loud enough so that she heard it, and she understood that it had started humming at the edge of her brain before the ghost appeared. She breathed shallowly, panting as in childbirth, and could not shout out. The room sang, its air electric with the ringing. Surely someone would hear and come help. Earlier in the night, on the other side of the ringing, she could hear women's voices talking. But soon their conversations had ceased. The school slept. She could feel that the souls had gone traveling. There was a lightness not in the dormitory during the day. Without looking at the babies on her back or in their cribs, she had always been able to tell, after the rocking and singing and bedtime stories and keeping still not to startle them, the moment when they fell asleep. A tension goes out of their bodies, out of the house. Beyond the horror in the ghost romp, she felt this release through the dormitory. No one would come to see how she was doing. "You will not win, Boulder," she spoke to the ghost. "You do not belong here, and I will see to it that you leave. When morning comes, only one of us will control this room, ghost, and that one will be me. I will be marching its length and width. I will be dancing, not sliding and creeping like you. I will go right out that door, but I'll come back. Do you know what gift I will bring you? I'll get fired, ghost. You made a mistake haunting a medical school. We have cabinets full of alcohol, laboratories full. We have a communal kitchen with human-sized jars of oil and cooking fat enough to burn for a month without our skipping a single fried meal. I will pour alcohol into my wash bucket, and I'll set fire to it. Ghost, I will burn you out. I will swing the bucket across the ceiling. Then from the kitchen my friends will come with a lard. When we fire it, the smoke will fill every crack and corner. Where will you hide then, ghost? I will make this room so clean no ghost will ever visit here again." "I do not give in," she said. "There is no pain you can inflict that I cannot endure. You're wrong if you think I'm afraid of you. You're no mystery to me. I've heard of you sitting ghosts before. Yes, people have lived to tell about you. You kill babies, you cowards. You have no power over a strong woman. You are no more dangerous than a nesting cat. My dog sits on my feet more heavily than you can. You think this is suffering? I can make my ears ring louder by taking aspirin. Are these all the tricks you have, ghost? Sitting and ringing? That is nothing. A broom ghost can do better. You cannot even assume an interesting shape. Merely a boulder, a hairy butt boulder. You must not be a ghost at all. Of course, there are no such things as ghosts. Let me instruct you, Boulder. When Yen, the teacher, was grading the provincial exams one year, a thing with hair as ugly as yours plopped itself on his desk. That one had glaring eyes, though, so it wasn't blind and stupid like you. Yen picked up this ferule and hid it like a student. He chased it around the room. It wasn't lame and lazy. And it vanished. Later Yen taught us, afterlife, the rational soul ascends the dragon, the sentient soul descends the dragon. So in the world there can be no ghosts. This thing must have been a fox spirit. That must be just what you are, a fox spirit. You are so hairy, you must be a fox that doesn't even know how to transform itself. You're not clever for a fox spirit, I must say. No tricks, no blood. Where are your hanged man's rotting noose and icy breath? No throwing shoes into the rafters? No metamorphosis into a beautiful sad lady? No disguises in my dead relatives' shapes? No drowned woman with seaweed hair? No riddles or penalty games? You are a puny little boulder indeed. Yes, when I get my oil, I will fry you for breakfast. She then ignored the ghost in her chest and chanted her lessons for the next day's classes. The moon moved from one window to the other, and as dawn came, the thing scurried off, climbing quickly down the foot of the bed. She fell asleep until time for school. She had said she was going to sleep in that room, and so she did. She awoke when the students came tumbling into the room. "What happened?" they asked, getting under the quilt to keep warm. Did anything happen?" "Take my earlobes, please," said my mother, "and pull them back and forth. In case I lost any of myself, I want you to call me back. I was afraid, and fear may have driven me out of my body and mind. Then I will tell you the story." Two friends clasped her hands while a third held her head and took each earlobe between thumb and forefinger, wiggling them and chanting, come home, brave orchid, who has fought the ghosts and won. Return to Tu Kyung School, Kwangtung City, Kwangtung Province. Your classmates are here waiting for you, scholarly brave orchid. Come home, come back and help us with our lessons. School is starting soon. Come for breakfast. Return, daughter of New Society Village, Kwangtung Province. Your brother and sisters call you. Your friends call you. We need you. Return to us at the Tu Kyung School. There's work to do. Come back. Dr. Brave Orchid, be unafraid. Be unafraid. You are safe now in the Tu Kyung School. All is safe. Return. Abundant comfort and long restoring waves warmed my mother. Her soul returned fully to her and nestled happily inside her skin, for this moment not traveling in the past where her children were, nor to America to be with my father. She was back among many people. She rested after battle. She let friends watch out for her.